Thank you very much, Betsy. And I do appreciate the opportunity to speak here at Unity Church of Rochester. I think Rosalind Mariconda, Reverend Rosalind, for this opportunity. And it's Father's Day, and so I'm going to come from the place that, for me, I think the best gift a dad can give his kids is to model a great relationship with the mom. Years ago, as Betsy said, I trained with Harville over 30 years ago now. And at that time, the motto of the Institute, or one of the mission statements, was, how do we raise healthier kids? Well, who are the models for the kids? Are the parents. And if we can model a healthy relationship for our children, we'll do less damage to them, who in turn will do less damage to their kids, and so on down the line. And slowly, one relationship at a time, we heal this great planet of ours. But I think that's the best thing we can do. So now, again, the talk title is Cracking the Relationship Code, Unlocking the Combination to a Successful Relationship. I'm not the one who cracked the code. That was Harville and Helen. And I truly believe that they have. And for me, it's a bit like having the combination to a lock. Once you know the combination, much easier to open the lock. All right. So what I'd like to do today is sort of look at the three primary pieces, I think, of that combination. Now, I see myself as a coach. For me, therapy is pretty heavy, like there's something wrong with you. Whereas a coach, I've done lots of coaching. And typically, there's nothing wrong with my guys, but sometimes what they're doing is not working. They're not working as well as they want. And I think the same is true of relationships. Yes, we're all bent out of shape a bit, but often there's nothing primarily wrong with us, but sometimes what we're doing is not working. And so I think if you can understand these three key pieces of the combination, much better chance to have the kind of relationship you truly want. Now, because it's Father's Day, I'm really just speaking to the dads. So moms, you can back off, take a deep breath. So this is to the dads, not the moms. All right. So three pieces of the combination lock. Now, the first piece, and it sounds simple, but I think it's the key to the whole deal. It's about safety. And I don't mean physical safety, because that has to be a given in a conscious relationship, but I'm talking about emotional, psychological safety. Now, why do I say that? Well, in my little book, the first piece of the three-step process, I think you've all seen a picture like this of the human brain. All right. Or something similar. So here all of us hopefully using that convoluted part at the top, the cerebral cortex. And then we have the midbrain, which does all kinds of things. And then we have this brain stem that comes up down to the back of our necks. And scientists tell us that we share the brain stem with all animals. Birds, fish, mammals, reptiles have a brain stem. They call it the reptilian brain, the old brain, the brain stem. And it's been around for 500 million years. And its basic function is to keep us alive. It asks the question, is it safe or is it dangerous? And if it's dangerous, it'll defend itself. It's 500 million years. You're not going to change it. Now, here's my challenge. Think about how relationships are often depicted in our culture. Movies, TV, those magazines at the checkout counter, but in real life. But think about it from your old brain point of view. If you attack me or yell at me or don't talk or shut me down or make fun of me, what am I going to do except defend myself? You see it everywhere. And all I'm saying doesn't work. I know it sounds simple, but I think the key to the whole deal, and so in my office, my main job is to get two people to talk to each other in a safe way, and I can do that. But they can't attack or withdraw. And one of the causes of the power struggle, there's different causes, but one is simply a different expression of energy, but it's that ancient energy. It's 500 million years old. If you think of nature, millions of years, nature's learned better chance to survive if you explode your energy out, to fight or flight. We've all heard that. Or if we constrict your energy, if we hide or we freeze or we submit. It's like a little rabbit might hide or freeze. So millions of years, nature's learned better chance to survive if you explode your energy or you constrict your energy. And then often, I'm not saying it with you people, but often they marry each other. And if there's an issue in a relationship, if there's a charge an issue, one person tends to be on the side of talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. The other person tends to be on the side of leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. I can change back and forth, but that's one of the causes of the power struggle. It's simply a experience just a reactive response. And I would characterize most relationships, certainly ours was, before we met Harville and did that work, they're unconscious, they're old brain, they're reactive. If my partner came on too strong, I would shut down. And what, we're trying to do, trying to talk about here is to have a more conscious relationship, to use that new brain of ours, our thinking brain, and become more intentional. And by intentional, I mean, look around your house. Everything that's in there was created by a human. We can do that. You can design the kind of outcome you want to work at it, but you have to be aware, you have to be conscious. Okay? So that's the first piece of the puzzle, of the combination lock, but it's a key one. Because if you don't feel safe, you'll defend. 500 million years. Well, think about this pandemic thing. It's only been around for what? I mean, it seems like a long time, but what? A year and a half, something like that. And I know now, after a year and a half, that to be safe, wash your hands, wear a mask, social distance, all that kind of stuff. So I know more now than I did a year and a half ago. That's only a year and a half. Your old brain has had 500 million years to figure out what's dangerous. You're not going to fool it. If it senses danger, it'll defend. And I'm not knocking the old brain. If I'm out on the 401, which is our major highway here, I want to have my wits about me. I also don't want to run my marriage by it. Anyway, so that's the first piece. Second piece, now, remember I said I'm a coach, and all sports use systems and teach skills. In my book, I use hockey. In hockey, there's a system to get the puck out of your end or kill penalties or whatever. But if you've been in a relationship, or if you are in a relationship, you're already part of a system. Our culture accepts two people living together with or without kids, right? But for me, if 40% of those relationships end in divorce, that's the stat in Canada. I think in the States, it might even be higher. But if 40% of those marriages end in divorce, for me, there's something flawed with the system. And we would say of the other 60%, there's a lot that are in hot marriages where there's a lot of fighting or a cold relationship, the passion's gone. So what's going on? Like nobody wants that, but statistically, that's where we can end up kind of thing, So the system I teach is the Imago system. Remember, I didn't create this. I can coach it. I didn't invent hockey. I can coach hockey. I didn't invent Imago relationship therapy, but I can coach it. All right. And what Harville and Helen, it seems counterintuitive, but the more you think about it, it makes absolute sense, because their theory is that from our family of origin, where we grew up, we have thousands of hours of watching our parents interact. And he says, what seems to happen is we form this unconscious image of the person who will make us whole, but that image is made up of both the positive but also negative traits of our family of origin. And people resist that because they would say, well, there's no way. I would never consciously choose somebody that didn't meet my needs the way they weren't met as a kid. And I would agree with you 100%. On a conscious level, you certainly would not do that. But unconsciously, and our unconscious has a different agenda sometimes. It's trying to, I love talking in a spiritual center, because for me, it's God at the DNA level. Your unconscious is trying to help you become more whole, become a better human being. All right. And if there were needs that didn't get met growing up, guess who you get partnered with? Someone who at the start can't meet those needs. But if you get it right, as they stretch to meet those needs, they heal themselves and they heal you. So here's a metaphor that might help. Think of a file you might have on your computer. Say, Unity Spiritual Center of Rochester. So all the information that you get from Unity goes in that file. All right. Now, so we're used to that, a file. Either a filing system or on the computer. Now think of a small child, especially age 1, 2, 3, and later. But especially at those early ages, most of a child's knowledge is right brain. It's nonverbal. All right. It's tone of voice. It is words, but it's inflection, it's expression, it's touch. And it all goes in the file. What file does it go into? Here's the person who loves me. Here's the person who will take care of me. Here's the person that will meet all my needs. And it all goes in that file. Now, your parents weren't perfect, just as we're not perfect. But it all goes in that same file. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So then, guess what? When you go out looking for a partner, guess what file you're looking into? The person who loves me, who will take care of all my needs, who will love me. And in the romantic love stage, it's the good bits that tend to surface. And all I'm saying is don't be surprised if the bad and the ugly show up too. Because it will. I see it every day in the office. And so here's a question for you. And again, I think for me, again, it's God at the DNA level, because two questions I sometimes ask my couples, okay? The first one you don't have to answer. Second one you can. First one is, if you're with a partner, why with this person? Why are you with this person? Why am I with my wife? Most guys have met other women growing up. Most women have met other guys. So why you two? It's not a bad question, really, is it? But here's the second question. Can you remember when you first met your partner? 100% can. In the office, 100%. And I can't remember what I did yesterday, but I can remember 50 years ago when I met my wife. So what's going on? And I think unconsciously we recognize something that's familiar. Okay. Now, again, think about it from a spiritual point of view, a theological point of view. And I'll use myself as an example because I'm oversimplifying, but just to make a point, because growing up, my wife felt that her emotional needs weren't met well. Her dad was an alcoholic back then. Later, he had 35 years of sobriety, but as a child, he was an alcoholic. And so she felt her emotional needs weren't met. Who did she marry? Me, my dad died when I was 5. It's during the war. I'm sent to a military boarding school. I liked the boarding school. I had a lot of friends, played a lot of sports. But in hindsight, certainly didn't learn how to deal with feelings very well. So she didn't get her feeling needs met growing up, marries me who can't meet those feeling needs. And it seems like a recipe for disaster. And I think that's what the 40% statistics on divorce, back up. But if you can become conscious, if you can become aware and realize that, as I realize that if I can stretch to meet her needs in that feeling area, I not only meet her needs, but I grow in a part of me that got stunted growing up. And I truly believe it's God giving us a second chance. You're with the right person, but you have to be aware. You have to be conscious. Right? So that's one piece of the Imago system, is that we're often partnered with somebody who at the start especially can't meet our needs. And then the second piece of that is that we're often strong in an area where your partner is less strong. Right? But if we can get it right, you've married your healer, but you have to be conscious. You have to be aware. So that's the second piece. So the first, remember the combination lock. The first piece of the combination is safety. If you don't feel safe, you'll defend. Second piece is, if I teach the Imago system. So the system is saying you're probably with somebody who will activate some old stuff, and you're probably strong in an area where your partner's not so strong. And for sure, you both have those reactive old brains. But again, think of it from a coaching point of view. If I know next week we're playing against a team that uses a certain offense or defense, we'll practice against it. We know it's coming. All right? So all I'm telling you, get ready. It's coming. So now you're going to need some skills. And like, again, in the book, in hockey, whether you're 5 or you're in the NHL, you have to learn how to skate and pass and check and shoot. Not 100 skills, but there's 4 pretty key ones. And I think there are 4 pretty key skills. If you can learn, much better chance to have the kind of relationship you want. Because remember, we're going back, dads, the best gift you can give your kids is to model a great relationship with your partner, with the kid's mom. So it has to be safe. Recognize that you're probably going to have to talk to each other about stuff, because stuff's going to show up. The bad and the ugly will show up in the relationship, given enough time. So now you need some skills. And there's 4 sort of key skills. I think if you can learn, again, much better chance to have the relationship you want. And the first one is you have to learn to talk to each other in a safe way. You can't attack or withdraw. Harville uses the image of a turtle in a hailstorm. So the hailstorm says to the turtle, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. I was the turtle in my relationship. What was I doing except going deeper and deeper in my shell? Because that's where it was safe. I learned that when I was 5. It's during the war. I'm in this military boarding school. There was no kindergarten. They put me in grade 1. Everybody else is 6. I'm a small 5. I just learned to stay below the radar. but it wasn't working in the relationship. So now I have a choice. I can keep doing it, or I can say, okay, if I'm the turtle, I got to stick my nose out a bit here. And my wife was never a big hailstorm, but she might have to back off a bit. So that's the first key skill. A couple has to learn to talk to each other in a safe way. And in the Imago system, we have a process to do that. It's a structured process, but it ensures safety. And I tell couples, if you can learn a different way to talk to each other, use that, but it has to be safe. Okay. Second key skill. Again, think about this from your old brain point of view. We're going to say in a conscious relationship, anything negative by appointment only. Anything negative by appointment only. Because again, think about it. If I don't know when the arrow's coming or when I'm going to be attacked, I'll have my armor on. Hard to be intimate when you're both clanking around in the same house with an armor on. You know, when people look at me a little strange and say, what does that look like? Well, when I go out there tonight or after this, just hang out 30 years. No arrows coming, not going to get zinged. But if either Chris or I, my wife, there's something came up, we need to talk, hey, let's go for a coffee. We have the same process you do. We have the same dialogue process to talk to each other in a safe way. I'm not asking you to do anything I don't do with my wife. We're all in this together. But you can't attack or withdraw. The third skill, and this is the one I think couples are having the most problems with because I think to a large degree it's unconscious. We're going to say in a conscious relationship, remove all negativity. No blame, shame, or criticism. And in their most recent book, the original book was 1988, and then they republished it in 2008, and then the third edition in 2018. And between 2008 and 2018, they were delving into quantum physics. And quantum physics, if you think of a relationship, typically we think of you and you, two people. But there's an energy field around you, isn't there? And you can tell when there's tension in that. You know, my couples always know. I ask, can you tell when there's tension? Yeah, it's either tense or it's not tense. There's no middle ground. All right. And that energy field is real. Like quantum physics says that everything is connected. Okay. It's all energy and it's all connected. That's what this reality is that we all live in. It's just energy. It's all connected. So and energy, my analogy is it's like light. You can't block the light. So if you put negativity in that space between, your partner can't block it. It's going to affect them. And when I first thought about this, okay, so think of your relationship as not just the two of you, but this energy field around you. And we're going to say no negativity in there. No blame, shame, or criticism. And when because I realized that couples struggle with this a bit. And I first thought, well, if they've been married for 5 or 10 years, you know, they probably built up some bad habits, and they probably have. But I think now it goes back farther. I think it goes back to those first 18 years. Because a lot of us did grow up in homes where there was negativity or there was criticism. And I think our culture can be pretty negative, pretty critical. And we just think it's normal. But we bring it in the relationship, it doesn't work. So go back to the romantic love stage of relationship. I think that energy field is pretty positive. It's new, it's fun, it's exciting, it's romantic. Pretty positive. And then I think what happened, I think it can go fast or go slow, but I think it's small things. You know, a little zing here, a little criticism, roll your eyes, walk away. And all of a sudden that energy field becomes a little bit more negative. If it becomes too negative, then people start to avoid. It becomes toxic. Who wants to go into a toxic space? And that's where we get that 40% divorce rate kind of thing, you know, if it carries on too long. All right. So now the other thing I ask couples to do, and I'm toying with the idea of making them do it. Like I say, I'm a coach. If I was coaching them, I could bench them, but I can't bench them. But I really encourage them to take a zero negativity pledge. No negativity in that space between. Because think about it. Logically, it's impossible, isn't it, to have a great relationship if you're negative. Because negativity creates anxiety. If you feel anxious, you don't feel safe. Hard to be intimate when you don't feel safe. Okay? So zero negativity pledge is to eliminate all negativity in that space between. And there's a process we have to do for that because I say to a large extent, sometimes it's unconscious. And we have to bring it to awareness, and that's a whole nother deal. But it's really important. So 3 of the skills then, you have to learn to talk to each other in a safe way. Just make an appointment if there's anything negative. Okay. And the caveat there, of course, is that, just because it's a good time for me to talk doesn't necessarily make it a good time for you. But if it's not a good time for you and you say, look, it's not a good time, let's do it tomorrow morning, or let's do it, on the weekend, no problem. But then in the morning or next weekend, then you have to come to me, because otherwise I have to chase you, which isn't safe. Then the third is to remove all negativity, no blame, shame, or criticism. And the caveat here, of course, is that it's the person on the receiving end who determines whether it's negative or not. I could say, well, I'm just kidding, but if it hurts my wife, I'm the one who has to stop. Okay, so those are the three. And the fourth one is what we would say to amplify the positives. And say that stuff out loud. Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. You did a great job. Because again, from an old brain point of view, think about it. If I'm constantly hearing, hey, thanks a lot, I appreciate that, you did a great job, my old brain can relax. This is not the enemy over there. This is my ally. We're on the same team. All right. So again, there you have it. That's a 3-step process. It's not rocket science. I'm not that smart. But I know there's some things you can do and some things you can't do. All right. So number one, okay, the 3-step process, it has to be safe. 500 million years. You're not going to change that. If you don't feel safe, or if your partner doesn't feel safe, they'll defend themselves. Number two, what I'm suggesting is that in the Imago system, that Harlow and Helen have cracked the code. They've figured out what's going on, because you're probably with somebody who, at the start especially, you won't be able to meet their needs. But if you get it right, and again, this is where, from a spiritual point of view, you're with the right person, but you're going to be challenged to grow. And isn't that what life is all about? It's to grow to our full potential, to be the best human beings we can be in order to get back to this great world of ours. And none of us are perfect, because our parents weren't perfect. We're not perfect. But our partner will often call us to grow in areas that we're weak, that were our weak suits. Don't be surprised anyway. So to understand that that's the system you're part of. It's a given. So then you need some skills. And again, the 4 key skills. First one, you have to learn to talk to each other in a safe way. It's a given. If you attack, I'll defend. So you have to learn to talk to each other in a safe way. Just make an appointment for anything negative. Get rid of negativity, no blame, shame, or criticism in that space between zero negativity, and then to amplify the positives. All right? So there you go. So I guess, I want to thank you for the chance to talk to you. Have a happy Father's Day. If the moms, if you didn't hear anything, that's okay too. But this is really aimed at the dads. So thanks very much, and back to you, Betsy. Thanks.